What's going on, everybody? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and welcome to the first official patch notes for the first official patch coming to Second Extinction this Monday. So these patch notes are pretty awesome, my dudes. Most of it is bug fixes and setting up a proper foundation for Second Extinction moving forwards. But also we've seen a lot of community requested things get introduced into this update. And then alongside that too, some slightly controversial things that we're going to be talking about in just a second here. But before all of that, let's start actually jumping into these patch notes. So first things first, we just have a little letter from the team that kind of abbreviates the whole patch notes here. So the letter reads, "Extinction Elites, thank you for your continued efforts in exterminating the dinosaur threat. Your live reports from the ground have been vital in helping us direct our efforts. As we were ramping up towards the launch, we have been prepared to receive community feedback on any major issues. This coming patch that will drop on Monday, October 26th, aims to resolve as many of these as possible while paving the way for future content and quality of life updates. The patch highlights are stability fixes, ultra-wide monitor support, finally, and this is just a first pass implementation, so that means that there's going to be some extra work done on ultra-wide support. A nav bar popping up in game. Finding matches in matchmaking has been made a lot easier. Possible to remap keyboard for your movement controls, which I've seen for a lot of lefty players out there having issues with the typical WASD mapping. And then multiple audio dropout issues fixed. Then next up, following this introduction, you can find a full list of fixes and improvements. Additionally, there are a few other issues we are currently investigating, which is weapon input delays, as well as issues involving aiming down the sights or equipping the shotgun or carbine, and then also the game crashing when selecting your forgot password during the Apex Connect screen. Keep fighting the good fight and sending in your reports. We look forward to hearing them from you, the Second Extinction team." Now, for the whole patch notes proper, a more detailed but not exhaustive list of improvements follows, which means that there's probably a lot of work going on under the hood that just isn't important enough to be included in the full patch notes here. So first things first, bugs. Blockers, crashes, and critical. They fixed multiple game freezes suspended after using the Alt and Enter to go full screen in the game. They fixed multiple game crashes or black screen when switching monitors. They fixed handling of different resolutions and full screen. They've got better reporting of Vulkan-related crashes, and the game will detect the graphics driver version and warn you if you are on old drivers. They've also introduced better error reporting from graphics issues, and then they fixed an issue with research and material overflowing where it could not be spent. Now, next up for enemies, and everywhere where you see this little golden star beside an issue, that's something that's been reported by the community, that's been a community-driven fix. So for the enemies, a more accurate collision on large dinos so players cannot pass through them when alive or dead, which is kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing. Hopefully this doesn't mean that players will not be able to access drop materials because a dino happened to fall on top of them. Now, next up, they fixed various spawn issues with enemies appearing underground and on steep slopes, which was a community-directed issue. They fixed multiple animations being missing or not playing or looping on enemies. They've fixed various enemy VFX issues. They've fixed enemies that now jump down cliffs and slopes to stop them from dying from always falling, so you won't see the funny raptors committing suicide anymore. They fixed an issue where the enemies were invulnerable after the player respawned. Hit reactions are now a lot more responsive by the dinos. Burrows spawning logic has also been improved when fighting Rexes, so they spawn in a good space for best gameplay. Now for the heroes fixes, this is pretty much just focused around Rosie, which is perfect. Rosie no longer triggers her reloading line on partial reloads, which is godsend. And also her dialogue plays less frequently. Hopefully we could see that kind of across the board, because there's still a lot of other dialogue lines that play a little bit too frequently. And then static barrier now replicates for other players as well. Now, for some equipment fixes, they've fixed the healing station so that it heals the entire party, which is great. That means that we're going to see the healing station be the useful piece of equipment that it should be. And for general, they've fixed an exploit allowing players to infinitely trigger airstrikes, which is a little disappointing, but, you know, with the good comes the bad. For audio, they've fixed wrong or spamming effects on various weapons and upgrades. They've fixed multiple audio dropouts. They've fixed a buzzing noise in game when exiting the map screen. They've fixed various bugs of repeating sounds and voiceover, which might actually be what I was talking about previously. We'll have to wait until the update actually drops on Monday to totally know. And then they've fixed various incorrect voiceover messaging. They've fixed various missing or not triggering sounds fixed in the front end and in-game. And then they've made some sound balancing and polish for character VO, abilities, weapon upgrades, and the bull. Hopefully by abilities that means Amir's laser, because that thing can straight up deafen you sometimes. For visuals, they've fixed multiple LOD, collision, and clipping issues throughout the entire world. They've fixed lighting leaking into caves in various locations. They've fixed snow appearing in incorrect places. Screen effects now reset if players quit to the menu when downed, and the resolution scale causing issues when with weapon shadows is now fixed. For multiplayer, they've made a replication fix for drone activity. They've made improvements to host migration and better handling when clients leave games. They've improved messaging when clients leave the lobby. Enemy hits reacts sync better across the network here. And matchmaking requirements softened to increase matches. That last one is really important because a lot of times if you're a high level player, you won't get any matches with low level players, and that doesn't really make a ton of sense here in Second Extinction. Now for Apex Connect, they've fixed some stability issues, they've fixed various controllers, and they've fixed some clipping of text. For the UI, they've fixed some front-end issues. They've fixed the navbar appearing when it should not be fixed. They've made improvements to the insertion map and loadout screen. They've made a fix for emotes not updating when selected. And they've made some additions to nameplate names and descriptions. For the HUD, ammo pickups no longer give a notification for other players' weapons. And then also party nameplates and health behaving incorrectly have been fixed. So that basically means like a lot of times you won't see correct amounts of damage dealt to your team. So now we should be seeing proper amounts of damage on the screen for your teammates. And for the ammo pickups no longer giving a notification for other players' weapons, I'm sure a lot of you dudes have noticed when you're in multiplayer, sometimes you'll go to the ammo stash and you'll wind up picking ammo for like tons and tons of weapons that you don't have on your character. So that should be gone at this point. For missions and activities, there's various edge case missions blockers that have been improved or fixed. And edge case blockers are basically like a maximum limit in the game's code. So hopefully this means that we'll be able to see, various missions rewarding us properly without having those maximum limitations hit. Activities will now reward research points on completion, which is nice. That means you're going to be getting pretty much a lot more research points throughout a mission. And then also, activities that soft-locked edge cases were fixed for Black Box, Gas Pump, and Burrow Infestations. Which is really great to see because with the Gas Pump, it's supposed to be this big major boon of research points, but currently does not do that. So it'll be great to see that side mission become a side mission that you can actively seek out. Now for miscellaneous, it's no longer possible to jump out of a moving dropship. And then also the I Don't Bleed achievement is fixed to be rewarded only when the criteria is met. Now, for improvements in quality of life, for the first thing here, for the hero's weapons, this is something that I'm going to talk about at the end of the video, but it's something that's a little bit disappointing to see, for me at least. For the grenade launcher, damage fall off has been increased, encouraging more skilled placement of shots while still performing its role as a crowd controller through staggering and knockback. For progression, leveling, the reduced threshold to reach player level 2 from 750 experience to just 500 experience. For mission scoring, they've improved the threshold of earning titles at mission completion, and they've reduced research penalties when you're down from 20 to 10, and the respawn penalty from 25 to 20. For enemies, they've made the Rex more aggressive in its attacks, and it utilizes combos more often, and has slightly more health. For raptors, diggers have improved collisions to make shooting off bone plates more reliable, and Electric Raptor's flashbang attack has been reworked. I'm really curious to see how that's been reworked. And then for general, the global balance to pass enemy attack alignment to ensure attacks land more consistently. And finally, for the UI and front end, they've made remapping of movement controls for those lefty players, and then also the 21:9 implementation, which is the ultra widescreen. Now let's go back to this grenade launcher thing, because this is something that I want to really strongly highlight here to just the general community. We really shouldn't be asking for nerfs too much in this game, because a lot of the fun of Second Extinction is the power play. And if we're having our weapons nerfed left and right, that can create some miscommunication towards the developers of the experience that we are intending to experience. So if we're getting weapons just nerfed all over the place, we could wind up with a kind of boring game here, which would not be great to see for Second Extinction. A lot of Second Extinction is all about that fast-paced combat, and you can't have fast-paced combat when you're worrying about your damage counts from your weapons, or when you're worrying about like too much spacing or any of that sort of stuff. So my hope is that the damage fall off for the grenade launcher is not a steep fall off, but instead is just a kind of minor damage fall off, because otherwise the grenade launcher is going to be absolutely terrible to use, and Amir is already the weakest character in terms of health out of all the characters, so you really don't want to be getting in close as Amir too often, unless if you're getting completely rushed by Dino. So this is just words to the wise in the community. You don't need to ask for nerfs too much in this game. If you feel like something is overpowered, use something underpowered. Don't use the upgrades. There's a lot of things you can do as a player to tailor your experience in a sandbox video game like Second Extinction. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here, and to not end on a negative note, let's look at the massive size of this fix here. This is going to be a huge patch coming to the game, and the introduction of ultra wide and the introduction of remapping keyboard layouts for your movement and stuff. That is incredibly excellent to see. Also, it's great to see the team receiving so much community feedback and acting on it. It's really great to see that, because that's one of the things that makes Systemic Reaction such a special publisher out here in the world of video games, is that they genuinely listen to the fans of their games. But either way, I want to know your thoughts and opinions on everything down in the comments below. What do you think about the nerfing of the grenade launcher? Was this something that you personally asked for? Are you nervous about nerfing in the same way I am? Definitely sound off in the comments down below about that. And about anything else in this massive list of patch notes. If there's anything that really caught your ear out of this, or caught your eye out of this, let me know, and definitely give the developers praise for their hard work. But for now, I've been Tenebris Infinite. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will catch you dudes in the next one. Until then, peace.